So the other day I was sitting in a bar talking with my friend and I noticed that they had this stream of classic rock playing on in the radio. And it got me thinking about classic rock in general and music in general and how the things that were considered classic when we were like 15, 16 years old is like really old now. And the music that we grew up on is now considered like classic rock or old school or whatever. And I'm just like, damn, I feel old. And that's really the first time that I think I actually kind of felt old, you know? Like it's never really bothered me before. The thought really never crossed my mind. But yeah, now I'm like, okay, so like, Van Halen and Bobby Brown, who else were we listening to back then? Boys to Men, um, Aerosmith, and depending on what you were listening to. In any case, it's all considered classic, vintage, and old at this point. Um, so let me know. What do you think? Do you feel old when you listen to any of this music? Does it make you feel old? Do you get classified as old if you start jamming to it in the middle of the grocery store? Which is another thing I want to bring up. Is I remember specifically working at a grocery store out in Podunk in Pennsylvania when I was like 20 years old or something like that. And they were playing classic rock back then. And this is like, oh boy, early 70s or something like that. They played a lot of America. I remember that because I had to look it up because I didn't even know who this band was. They played a lot of that music. And, that's when I started paying attention to the music that was in the grocery stores and realizing that, like, okay, so I was putting together that the music that they're playing in the grocery stores was geared toward the people they thought had the most money to spend in the grocery stores. Or, a more recent thought is has to do with paying royalties. It's probably both, honestly, if we think about it. Um, but yeah, now like I go to the grocery store and I'm like jamming it out to like music from like the '90s and the early 2000s, and I'm like, hell yeah! And like I'm that weird one in the aisle who's like singing and bopping along and all that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, this is geared toward me, and I'm gonna enjoy it because I know 20 years down the road. Of course, I do keep up with music, but 20 years down the road, you know, it's going to be geared toward another generation. That's okay. But let's get this ball rolling and start thinking about like old movies that we grew up on. Vintage movies. Enemy Mine for some reason is coming to mind. Anyone remember that one? It was Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid. Is that right? Anyway, I watched the crap out of that movie. Um, Top Gun, obviously, that was a big one back then when we were kids. Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. What else were we watching? He-Man, She-Ra, stuff like that. Um, have you gone back to watch any of these movies as an adult? That's the bigger question because I remember a few years back when Netflix still had DVDs. They finally cut those off like a year or two ago. But when they still had DVDs, I rented Who's That Girl? It had Madonna in it. I think it was 1986, somewhere around there. 87, probably 86. Anyway, definitely should have left that movie back in my childhood. That was a regret. Which is so funny because when I was a kid, I watched the heck out of that movie over and over and over again. Whenever it was on TV, it didn't matter. I was watching it. And, you know, it started making me wonder if I should go back and watch other movies that I grew up on. Now, some movies have staying power. Like for me, Labyrinth is like a cult classic. It has staying power. Dark Crystal has staying power. Um, Top Gun obviously has staying power because they made a reboot or something. I don't know. I haven't seen the new one yet. Have you seen the new one yet? Is it good? Is it worth my time? Let me know in the comments. Um, but yeah, I wonder sometimes if I should revisit some things. TV shows like Roswell. Roswell was 2000, 2001, no, 2000, somewhere around there. And I think considering my age and the nature of the show, because it was teenagers, I think I want to leave that in the past because there is a little bit of romance in there. And that just kind of gives me an ick as, a middle-aged woman now. It's like, I don't know if I want to watch that and enjoy that. Like I that just seems weird to me. So I'm definitely going to leave that in my past. Um, but yeah, are there any movies that you definitely want to leave in your past, or any movies you want to revisit? What movies do you still watch that you enjoy that are from back in the day? What else is there? I think that's it. That's all I've got in my mind right now. It's just old music and feeling old, and yeah. Although I do think that music is universal, and I definitely get. I don't get offended anymore, but I used to get offended when I liked some Motown or something, and I was like, this is like 10 years ago or something. Go, wow, that's definitely older than you. That's not your age group. And I'm like, first of all, why is music belonging to an age group? It should be for everybody, right? But I do kind of understand the nuance in that, where a lot of this music came out during a certain generation, so it might be a little bit weird to hear somebody who's very young enjoying a certain type of music. But I come from a family that we listen to everything, and when I mean everything, everything. We had classical, we had Motown, we had R&B, we had heavy metal, we had rock, we had all the different subgenres of rock. Like there was everything. So um, I approach music very universally, but some people don't. They're very much in little. I don't want to say little boxes, but they're definitely in boxes and labels. So let me know in the comments how you feel about old music and classic music, and if it makes you feel old, and if there's any movies that you would revisit or leave in your childhood. And I'll see you next time with another story. All right, take care. Bye.